Good evening, folks. This is Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, bringing you a grand solar minimum update on Thursday, February 15th at 11:30 p.m. Mountain Time 2018. You're looking at the GFS model for 24-hour snowfall starting on Friday through the weekend. 10 to 20 inches with low snow levels here in the Pacific Northwest. Areas in yellow, 24 plus up to 36. This is northern Idaho, a lot of Washington State. This is a huge event for this weekend, extending all the way up into Canada here and out into Montana. So that's a heads up for everyone skiing. It's going to be a banner day. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Winter takes colder aim at Butte, southwest Montana. They've had a cold winter, and this is interesting if you come read here. It's been easy on Butte in southwest Montana until recent days with fewer Arctic air invasions. However, they're about to be screwed for the rest of the month. That blocking high, the glacial pattern has split, and now the polar vortex is in two pieces. And this weekend could be looking at one of the strongest Arctic cold fronts coming in. Now, according to the National Weather Service, they no longer keep official snow totals for Butte. But as we reported yesterday, Montana has record snowfall depths. Talking 40 inches everywhere currently. Helena has 43. It's fifth highest through February 13th. How do they know that? Oh, okay. It's only the one city they don't keep track of. Still, that's ridiculous. Why do they stop keeping track in a city of snow? Makes you think. But winter's taking aim at Montana. We just showed you up to 3 feet of snow in the high mountains. One city in Montana saw temperatures rise 82 degrees in one day. We reported about a month ago on a record set about 100 years ago where the same thing happened in the plains. Well, this just happened in Montana. Unfortunately, after it rose 82 degrees, it was still 40, so it wasn't even cold. It went from minus 37 to 45 degrees the other day. The Chinook winds were responsible. So was the cooling of the planet. Fort Belknap, Montana, thanks to Chinook winds causing the temperature to rise from an early morning negative 37, minus 37 degrees. That's negative from zero. Someone complained because I said negative. Negative and minus are the same. To an afternoon high of 45 degrees, a temperature change of 82. And that is a heads up. With a dude's head squished into the bulb. You're welcome, sir. So that's a huge swing. We're going to see bigger swings moving forward. So that's the mark, 82 degrees. We're looking at a 100-degree temperature swing in the next few years. Wind, snow, bitter cold in Seattle this weekend. Just in time for Valentine's Day. Look at the heart right there. That's a boom. For those of you who have been missing the real depth of winter, things are looking up. Seattle and most of western Washington can expect more than a taste of winter this weekend as wind, cold temperatures, and yes, even lowland snow are all parading in the region starting Friday. The National Weather Service has already issued a winter weather advisory for Thursday night into Friday, which is right now, calling for up to 15 inches of snow happening now on the west slopes of the Cascades right now, north, and all the way down to 2,000 feet. So everyone's going to get a little taste of the boom, which is called science, and we're doing it right now. A frontal system arriving Friday will bring some rain to the lowlands and snow to the mountains. But another stronger front arriving late Friday will bring the heavy mountain snowfalls, which we just showed you, dumping up to 3 feet of snow in this region by Sunday. So heads up Seattle, and that doesn't leave you out, Puget Sound. Extreme cold snow to hit the Puget Sound this weekend. It's where they chuck fish and stuff. The entire region will get a winter blast starting Friday, including the coldest temperatures for the winter so far, thanks to the warming hole, labeled with B, which is where it's actually cold. Seattle, Washington, while places like Boston and Chicago were hammered earlier in the winter, it's now shifted. The pattern has shifted abruptly. And then by March, the whole country is going to be below normal. So we're going to get an East Coast freeze, a West Coast freeze, and then the entire 48 freeze in March. So be prepared. The National Weather Service is predicting a trifecta of harsh winter weather for the weekend. Heads up, Puget Sound. Strong winds starting Friday, lasting into Saturday. And on Sunday, the cold sets in. And that means we might see snow in Puget Sound. Sub-zero. It's going to get down in the 20s. We're talking record levels, so heads up. We're going to be covering this and see what happens over there down at the fish market. Record cold is heading your way, Washington State. We just said that. But first, 15 inches of snow will be at all the ski resorts. I'll leave you links to all these wonderful articles. Let's look at the Great Lakes ice cover triple to record levels during this warming hole that we call Al Gore. Al Gore is the warming hole. Please let that catch on. What you're going to see quickly here is the total ice cover on the Great Lakes slowly going up and down through time. It got to a peak of 26% there early, and then look at it quickly rise. 30, 30, 20. Oh, down low. Here it comes. This is the Arctic blast, late January, 27. Oh, it went down to 15. Did you see that? And it is about to eclipse itself here, rising over 60% almost instantaneously. 54. Boom. 62.5. There's 64. On February 10th. We just reported on this a few days ago. That is a record ice year, and we're not done. The entire month of March is going to be frigid over this region, so we're going to see record levels this year, and it is already at record levels. On Tuesday, February 13th, the Great Lakes ice cover saw rapid surge in growth that we just watched as yet another blast of Arctic cold air came over the region. So I'll leave you links to this if you're interested in Great Lakes ice cover and the fact that everything's melting, which it's not. And Hudson Bay is epic. Arctic air invades the prairies, locked in place for February. This is all of you, Alberta. I'm sorry, Brent. But it is not going to stop. This visual looks like it's all on fire. She's pretty much on fire. Thursday, February 15th, an extended period of winter weather ahead of the prairies with the Arctic air dominating the remainder of February. That's 2 more weeks. Winter conditions heighten the risk of treacherous travel once again on Thursday with significant snowfall set to hit Alberta this weekend. Not as significant as Washington State, but you guys are going to get at least a foot, foot and a half, all the way into Medicine Hat. So be prepared. And it's going to be even colder inland. I erased the Saskatchewan warnings, but there are cold warnings for Saskatchewan. Now, global warming is causing record cold temps at the Winter Olympics. Have you heard? It's a big warming hole over there. Now, no one should be surprised that the Winter Olympics are actually cold. But let's look back 4 years to the Sochi Olympics. Now, those games were the warmest ever. Thanks, Al Gore. And just 4 years later, the Pyeongchang Games may be the coldest Winter Olympic Games in history since records have been kept, which really doesn't jibe with the Al Gore model. So that's a heads up. And then digging even deeper into the psyche of those at the Olympics, even the youngsters, thankfully, the bitter cold at the Winter Olympics chills the global warming hype. So they even have a whole group of environmentalist D-bags here trying to shove global warming down the Winter Olympics' throats. And no one's buying it because it's freezing and everything's canceled. Good luck with that one. You need to be a rich idiot at Davos to believe that nonsense. Now, thankfully, the International Federation of the Red Cross stepped up, and as we reported on yesterday, Mongolia is in extreme need with over 75% of the country buried in snow and no fodder or feed for the million animals that are about to starve, which means that all of the people will starve. It's weird that they say that millions of animals are at risk of starving. There's tens of millions of humans at risk of starving once the animals die. So the Red Cross obviously knows this, and they put 2 and 2 together, and they dumped 257,000 Swiss francs into the economy there, which is just a meager $277,000. Most rich douchebags that we hate make this in a second. And not one of them is bucking up to help a single human in Mongolia. Except a friend of mine who just made a large donation to an awesome group that's doing permaculture in this area that's saving these people. You can do the same. I erased the link. I'm sorry. called Trees of Life. Check it out. Mongolia. Man injured by lightning strike. Hailstorm hits Ipswich. Thousands lose power in Australia. Now, a man has been taken to the hospital after he was injured when a bolt of lightning struck the ground beside him near Esk, west of Brisbane, and then they were pummeled by hail. This is a repeating pattern. Hail is the new normal. I wonder if hails fall in warming holes. Storm Pick View shows deluge of golf ball hail we were just reporting on in Brisbane. This is from Silkstone today. Will it load? Power has been restored to almost all the homes affected by yesterday's fast developing storms. Oh, we're slipping all the shrimp on the barbie, won't we? Now here the person doesn't know how to hold his camera sideways so that this picture actually is the whole screen. But you can see it. It looks like a regular summer storm here in the Rockies. So I'm not really impressed. But Maharashtra hailstorm crops on over 1.8 hectares. Preliminary reports of the Agriculture Department show that till February 13th, data about crop losses due to hailstorms were being received from 16 districts. This isn't snow here in central India. It's hail, killing everything and starving the public. Over 1.8 lots of hectares of farmland spread over 1,269 villages in 16 districts have been reported to be affected by hail and thunderstorms in the last few days. This is in the Marathwada in Vidarbha region, which is the central western coast of India, all the way inland. Now, these hailstorms were particularly intense over the weekend and obviously crushing crops. So there's lots of agricultural claims coming from this area, and this is just reporting on the crop losses as we move forward. I got information from the Geological Institute of Spain coming in from Tenerife. We reported on this several months ago when the Express and other outlets in the UK were fear-mongering about this because geological studies have shown that this entire flank of the island that I'm now arcing here could potentially slough off into the ocean, causing a tsunami wave that is 1,000 feet high here that would then extend across the entire Atlantic, decapitating the population on the east coast of the U.S., the Caribbean, and South America, all the way up into the Maritimes, Nova Scotia, Greenland. It would be devastating. And now, the mainstream's not picking up on this. I imagine that maybe tomorrow they will. But this is coming out in the last 4 days. There has been a hailstorm, a flurry of seismic activity in the low range. 1 to 2 magnitude. And now this is indicative of magma moving into this chamber. Now, if this, the most dangerous area where the fault is here, is now swelling with magma, then the odds of this catastrophic tsunami occurring are very high. So we need to keep an eye on this. In fact, in the last 4 days, this seismic activity started at a depth of 34 kilometers and has now migrated upwards. The first 2 days, the activity was from 34 to 30 kilometers. And in the last 48 hours, it has now moved up from 29 kilometers to 24 kilometers. So, that's a heads up for you people in Tenerife, because we're doing science here. And this is magma moving upwards, potentially. If this continues over the next 48 to 72 hours, there will be an alert issued and there will be millions of lives at risk. But we're going to keep an eye on this. Seismic update worldwide, nothing happening in particular except this very interesting seismic swarm in the Caribbean plate. So this is a heads up here, right off the coast of Puerto Rico. Here we have some large activity right on Puerto Rico, 3.0. And then here along the plate of 3.3, just east of the Dominican and the Punta Cana, the flurry of moderate activity. And it's not at a shallow depth. It goes as deep as 100 kilometers. And 67. Here's one coming off at 116. And the smaller quakes are thankfully not deeper. But this could be pre-quakes to a larger event. So we're going to watch this because there's no smaller activity. It's all moderate. So that is bringing me pause. Also, this quake up here in New England, New Hampshire 2.7 popping off in Kingston. This is one of 4 quakes this year. This is a significant uptick in New England for earthquake activity. So that's a heads up. And also out here, we have a 5.3 in Papua New Guinea and a 5.2 in Kokopo. There's a general moderate uptick of moderate activity along the Ring of Fire, which they're fear-mongering about, but I don't see anything really to ring a bell except here in the Caribbean. And there might be a large event happening up to 7 magnitude in the next 3 days. So let's just watch that area. The volcanic activity has died down because cosmic rays have been replaced by activity from our sun. In fact, a B flare just went off an hour and a half ago. So we're going to refresh this to get the most current information before we close out the video. Here we can see Klucheskov erupting currently. This is live. No one's reporting on that. Reventador had a volcanic ash advisory. Mayon today and Sabancaya as well with intermittent emissions. But the volcanic activity has quieted down because the space weather has ticked up. And as we come here to the newly refreshed page, you can see we had a low magnitude B flare from the exiting sunspot, but the coronal hole is now linked with the low level C flare. They've arrived over the last 48 hours. And you can see here the spike in the solar wind almost up to 800 in the speed. That's not going to come up. That's anomalous. Here we are at the constant stream here, and it doesn't look like anything's really happening that significant. In fact, it's dropping off here according to ACE. I saw an uptick when I started the video. Here the curve up, but it's dropped off here. And in fact, the density is dropping off as well. And here we see the temperature hitting the floor. So we're going to be quickly dropping back down. And this is all we got out of the C flare and the coronal hole. I don't think there's any more activity out of this. Looking at all the models and even this minor perturbation on the magnetometer. Here we see we have not a lot of activity in the electron flux region. And it seems to be going back to quiescence. It's going to come above this line. And then if we check the auroral map, it's not even that significant of a geomagnetic perturbation to Earth. So nothing significant happening. The aurora is not even coming down through Canada here. It's good news for us. Better news here coming from Morgan County Seeds. A better deal on bulk seeds than the last site I showed you yesterday. So this is coming from one of our subscribers where you can get a better deal on seeds here, and there's a way better selection. Plus they have hydroponic supplies, greenhouse supplies, everything you need. So make a big order and get it all shipped out as soon as your tax refund comes. And that's a heads up. Real quick, I want to thank Freedomizer Radio for inviting me to come on tomorrow live from Observing the Frontier in the desert in Albuquerque. They did Scarlet Anonymous and her co-host Red Gypsy will be talking for hours about all kind of stuff, and they made a really great intro to the radio show here that I'm going to share with you. It's awesome. Clarity After Dark. It explains their program. It has a badass picture of me, mostly why I'm showing it to you. Look at that. That's what I looked like 3 years ago. It's a badass. This is Atlantic City on the jetty. Here I am vaping. That's pretty hot. So it tells you what we're going to be talking about. This is the Rito Blanco, which is up here right near the Continental Divide, filled with native cutthroat trout. Here's our preliminary floor plan of one of our Earthships. And if you come down here, it has all of the graphics that we use on the program. and that we'll be talking about tomorrow night. So I'll leave you links to this. Check it out. You can call in live. Here's the phone number and all the information on how to do it. So you have 3 hours to call in live from 10 Mountain to 1 a.m. Mountain Time, which, depending on where you live, could work out for your schedule. So call in and let's chat. So thanks, Clarity After Dark, and we'll be talking to you tomorrow. And that's a heads up. Guys, I hope you got something out of the video. We'll be taking a drive tomorrow, and we'll be covering the latest on space weather and human health for the next 2 days. So we probably won't be doing an update tomorrow night, but we are going to try to go live and live stream on YouTube at some point while we're doing the radio show. So maybe we could turn on the webcam and you can check out Observing the Frontier while we're doing the radio program. So if I can figure that out, that'll be happening tomorrow night. So watch out for that around 10 p.m. Mountain Time for us to go live on YouTube while we're live on Freedomizer Radio. And that's a heads up. Please share this with like-minded people. Tell them about the radio show tomorrow. Tell them about Observing the Frontier and what an observer is. Share them this link. And because it has all of the graphics that you could possibly need to convince someone that where we're headed deserves proper prior planning. Because according to the CMIP6, it's not going to get warmer ever again. The entire globe is going to be filled with warming holes. Thanks, Al Gore.